Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to Unexplored Skyrim. Today's going to be a pretty big video. We're going to be checking out Whiterun in the area. Wait, what's going on? Why did it get so shady? What's in the sky? Oh my god, it's the Oblivion remaster. Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to Unexplored Cyrodiil. Now, I was anticipating making this series, however, we did not know when the remaster of Oblivion would drop, but here it is, and we have to start from scratch, making a brand new character. I went with a Breton since the very first time I ever played Elder Scrolls, I was a Breton. Today we're going to be checking out the tutorial quest, and we will also be checking out the nearby ruins of Vilverin. And of course, right at the beginning of Oblivion, we have this racist fuck that is yelling at us. Better hope I don't come back later and, kill you, but hey, for the time being, he can say whatever the hell he wants because he's behind the safety of metal bars. What a lucky lad. Now, Oblivion is a pretty amazing game. However, I gotta be honest, I never completed the game itself. When I was young, I had Oblivion and Fallout 3 at the same time, and simply, my younger self, Fallout 3 captured my attention more, but I'm very excited to play through this remaster, get some nostalgic memories, and also to finally complete the game, and of course, explore every last corner, so we all know secrets and good loot, Cyrodiil. Now, of course, the beginning of this game is very well documented and very well known, and quite honestly, I don't really know what I could ever possibly add to this beginning sequence, but I thought I'd talk about two tricks or glitches that you may or may not know. The first one is apparently, maybe this was patched in this part or remaster, even though a lot of glitches were not patched. But apparently, if you punch the Emperor after this fight and make him draw his sword, he will later drop his sword in the game, which will allow you to pick it up. Now, he's supposed to drop his sword when you pick your birth sign. I followed this, I punched the Emperor until he became hostile, and I then yielded, and when I picked my birth sign, I didn't get the sword of the Emperor, which was kind of sad. Now, another trick, which I'll show later on, involves using the Emperor and his guards to pretty much get an infinite level up on destruction. However, that would take way too much time, and I'm just not really that interested in wasting that kind of time on that, just leveling up destruction to 100. There are far more efficient ways to do that. Now, before we get to that later trick, I wanted to mention just some things in the beginning of the game. Here we have this well. Don't know who owns this well, if it's just part of the city, but I think it's kind of humorous. You have this top secret escape route, and somebody put a well right through it. Big rip. Now, in Oblivion, there are actual zombies. I don't recall any zombies in Skyrim, but Skyrim does have Draugr. Not sure if Draugr are actually in Oblivion, but to my knowledge, I don't believe they are. And as you continue your way through the tutorial, there are several chests, which will give you some useful items as we progress through the early stages of the game. Also, I want to point out, in this room, there is some kind of cage above us, so people clearly know there's some kind of corridor down below, but maybe it's just filled with rats. I don't really know what the building above us is, or if it's even accessible, but it's something I hope to find out maybe later in the game. But for now, I just thought I'd point it out. I thought it was pretty interesting. And after that, after we enter this kind of old cavern, there is some cracks above us, a kind of crevice there, and there is sunlight shining through. Just thought it was really cool, aesthetically speaking. Then eventually we'll enter this large kind of central chamber, and the goblins are cooking a rat. So frickin' delicious. And at this stage, we learn how to lockpick. I'm still kind of getting the hang of lockpicking in Oblivion. It is very different from Fallout and Skyrim, so if I struggle a bit, I'll probably just cut it out of videos, but please forgive me. As we meet up back with the Emperor and his guards, you can actually spam attack them from up here. They will not die, and you can pretty much infinitely level your destruction magic. However, of course, it would take a long time because you have to wait for your destruction to recharge, and the higher the level you are, well, the longer it's going to take to level up. Just thought I'd point it out. Now, in the next room, where the Emperor actually dies, I had a really weird glitch play out. Don't know if it was because I was attacking the Emperor later or just kind of a random glitch, but here is what happened. Barris, the guard, or one of the guards helping you protect the Emperor, got caught on the door. So when we were ambushed by the assassins, you can see Barris there. I'm going to fast forward this mostly though. So when the assassins attacked, there was no Barris, and this is very important because Barris gives us the key to advance further into the level. As you can see here, this assassin was trying to get to Barris, but no use. Also, when the Emperor was killed, normally Barris will kill this assassin, but for me, I had to kill him, and it was actually a pretty difficult fight because I'm a level 1. Obviously, I'm very new to the game. My character is very inexperienced. I almost died, but I managed to kill him, and I thought this was very odd. I was like, wow, that was quite a difficult fight. And little did I know, the game had completely broken at this point, and I pretty much soft-locked the game from this point. I couldn't loot the body, I couldn't get the key to exit because Barris was still at the door, and he couldn't talk to me. So I had to reload the save, and on the second attempt, everything worked out a-okay. Barris survived, or he had joined me, he didn't die, but he joined me properly this time, and then he talked to me, and he gave me the key so I could leave. After this, we make our way through a short trek through the sewers of the Imperial capital. It's a very fast trek. I'm not going to really show it because I couldn't find anything of interest. And after that, we can finally exit from the secret escape route that obviously failed. The assassins knew about it. The Emperor is dead. And we can escape to Cyrodiil. And I am so excited for this game because, man, look how beautiful it is. And right in front of us is Vilverin, which is an Aycleid ruin, and it is a very large ruin. It goes so deep, and it is quite incredible, as it is probably the first location that many players ever explored. However, it has a lot of secret doors and the like, so I wanted to talk about it and I wanted to explore it in this video because I had a lot of fun exploring it. Now, right outside there is a bandit camp, and there's some bandits scattered around, so you're going to want to take them out. This bandit bowman had a lot of health, for me at least, I thought. And then we can also find a book, Immortal Blood. This will increase your hand-to-hand skill, which is pretty good, so make sure you pick that up. But then we have some other bandits that we must kill. And after killing the bandits, there are still a few items of interest around Vilverin. Now, if we head to the northern side, we can find this dock. And at this dock, there are some mud crabs, which are very different from their Skyrim counterparts. They even seem to be a bit more peaceful and less aggressive. After that, we can head to the dock and we can find some chests and a jewelry box. But before looting those items, there was this silverfish over here that was absolutely having a bad day. Leaped out of the water and started freaking out. So I decided to do a mercy kill and put the poor silverfish out of his misery. After that, we can loot the chest and the jewelry box. Not much in the chest, but the jewelry box had some gold and a ring, so not too bad. After that, we can make our way up towards the road, just real quick. And up here, we can find an old ruin that may or may not have been connected to Vilverin. I don't know what the purpose of this was, if it was some kind of grand entrance or just another building for the ruins, but who knows, but I just thought I'd go ahead and point it out. And finally, after all of that, we can enter Vilverin. And inside, we will find a very large Aycleid ruin, and there are so many kind of hidden secrets, and it's such a large place to explore for your first location in Oblivion, and I had a ton of fun exploring it. Now, for the first half, we have a lot of these bandits who have made the first half of the ruins their kind of encampment. They have a lot of people, obviously, and obviously they've been looting and trying to gather whatever gold and treasures they can get their hands on. And eventually you'll come to this large central chamber. And from here you can either go south or north. Now, if you go to the south end of the room, you'll just find a little small chamber with like a bed and some good loot. And obviously in this large chamber, there's all kinds of locked chests and other good loot for the player to discover. Like this chest here had some gold. It's also a hood or something. But you can see here we're going to the southern end first because this is actually just a dead end. And up here we can find that little chamber I was talking about. Over here we can find a desk that has a scroll on it, and also a Welkian stone. But the scroll is what is most interesting to me, because it reads, "Some of the men were worried about these old ruins being haunted, but Mephala, take them. This spot's going to be perfect for ambushing merchants along the road, and all under the nose of the Imperial Legion. Finally got some of those big blue stones down today. Bernice got the idea to shoot them down with her bow. Got them all here with me. I don't know what they are, but they stink of magicka. But they'll fetch a nice price with the Mages Guild." 2 coins and that Khajiit from Vanderfell set up their camps down in the tomb. Fine by me, spares the rest of us the smell. 2 coins ran up today. The Khajiit's gone missing. Swore to the 9 that you could hear claws scrabbing at the limestone, but nothing's down there. I'm guessing she got tired of the smell and the smuck out overnight. 2 coin stench could peel shells off mud crabs. I'm surprised she hung around that long. So obviously this scroll gives us some information and some ideas about the bandits that are held up within Vilverin. Now, there's also a chest in this room, very easy lock, so it's pretty easy to open, and we found some arrows and some gold, so not half bad. After that, we can dive further into the ruins, and there was this bandit bowman down below. Started shooting him. We kind of got in a far contest, and I decided to run at him with my sword. And yeah, I was able to kill him pretty easily. Then, moving on to the next part, we can find a large room that is kind of lit up. And within this large room is where we can find the bandit ringleader, which is kind of like their chief or their leader. Now, he has a lot of health, and he can be a bit difficult to kill. He also had a Khajiit bandit next to him, but I was able to get rid of both of them eventually, and there we go. Now, on the ringleader, the loot wasn't that great. He had some okay armor and stuff, maybe for me, who's very new at this game, but really nothing of interest. And then in this room, there really isn't a whole lot, because as far as loot, there really isn't a whole lot in this room. We can find this small table and like a bedroll, and there's a piece of ham and some other food on the table. But for the most part, this is the extent of the bandits' exploration. Now, in the next part in the tombs, we can find one more lone bandit. And in the next part of Vilverin, we can find all of these tombs and like coffins, and there's like 3 little sections where you can go down and look. Now, there are some treasure chests and whatnot, like this one, the Aycleid chest. Very easy lock, and inside we can just find some gold, but truthfully not a whole lot, pretty small amount of gold. And then there's also these Aycleid crypts. And also down here we can find a bedroll in the area where that lone bandit was camping out. Now, if you're not very observant or you're just kind of running through, you might think this is the end of Vilverin, but you're really only about halfway through, if even halfway through. If we go to the western part, the western room, we can find a pressure plate which will open a secret entrance. And as we go through, we can find a dead bandit whose head is kind of like on this thing. And this is probably the dead Khajiit they were talking about from earlier, or the Khajiit that disappeared in that scroll which I read earlier. And we can find a locked door, and there's also another passage over here with another pressure plate. Now, you can go either way. They both take you to the same spot. However, going through the locked door has a lot less enemies and more loot, so that might be more appealing. However, I will go both ways just to show you what's down both areas. Now, down the first area we have some zombies and stuff like that, and some more tombs or coffins, whatever you want to call them, before it eventually opens up into this large central room with a pool of water in the center. Now, if we head back, there are these Aycleid chests, which we can loot for some random loot or gold, and there's also one of those Welkian stones, and you can obviously take that for yourself. And in this large central room, there are some skeletons, so make sure you take them out before, well, they do a tiny amount of damage to you. And in the pool of water, we can find a chest. Don't go over to the western part of the pool, head on over to the eastern part of the pool of water, and we can see the other chest right there next to those glowing crystals. And we can just see what's in it, very easy locked, and it just had a little bit of gold and a ring, not terrible. Now, if you go down the side with the easy locked door, we will find this room with several locked rooms, and the locks vary from easy to average. And inside of the rooms, we can find skeletons and also those Aycleid chests. Now, these rooms kind of just contain random loot. Sometimes they're worth it, sometimes they're not. Sometimes these skeletons have a lot of health, sometimes they don't, not sure why. But there we could get some gold, and we can also take an iron bow, and, just kind of go through each of these rooms like so. This skeleton was really angry at me and was trying to phase through the door because he's a magical boy, but we were able to kill him. But I'll be honest, I wasted quite a few lockpicks in this room, just kind of learning how to pick locks within Oblivion. So it was good as far as learning how to pick locks, but as far as loot, I wasn't that impressed. And as we continue down the corridor, eventually we'll find this flooded hallway, and this leads us to that large pool in that central room where we found the chest earlier. Again, both paths lead to the exact same area, and in this room there is a door that'll take us further into Vilverin. Now be careful in this room, as this middle platform is a trap, and it did quite a bit of damage, about 1/5. I'm lucky it just didn't instant kill me, but hey, that kind of would have been very sad. But anyways, take out this skeleton and be careful of the trap. As you can see, I actually lost a lot of health at that part, but we can continue heading into the ruins. And there will be more skeletons, of course. In this room with like these fire bowls or fire pits, we can find a very easy locked chest that just had a little bit of gold inside of it. And at this point, we were actually ready to level up, but I found out really in Oblivion, you have to sleep or meditate in order to level up. It's not like Skyrim, where leveling up provides you basically a free healing. Now, in this room, you're going to find these 6 buttons. I just kind of started spamming the buttons, which was actually, well, it worked out pretty well, actually. It opened up all of these compartments. There were a lot of skeletons. I lost a lot of health, but we were able to deal with all of them. Now, in these compartments that kind of open, we can find those Aycleid chests, which obviously, as always, will contain some random loot, like potions or gold or whatnot. As we continue further in, surprise, surprise, we will have more skeletons. Now, the animation on that skeleton was pretty cool as he lunged at me with his weapon. Now, in this room, you'll notice that there's kind of this central pillar and that there's this Varla stone cage. However, we cannot access the Varla stone inside of it, but if we come up here, hit this button, then the cage will lift up. There is no timer, it lifts up permanently, so we just come on down and pick up the Varla stone. Pretty good find. And as we progress further into Vilverin, we will eventually come to this way where there's like 4 pathways, this kind of intersection, and there's traps on all sides. In the middle, we can get this Aycleid statue, which is worth some money, some gold, and then we can choose 3 different paths. Now, each path just kind of leads somewhere else. Obviously, there's the correct path, but just to the south takes us to this skeleton and a chest. I almost died because I'm very bad at timing, apparently, and couldn't get through the traps. Now, if we head to the northern one, we can actually progress through the rest of Vilverin, and we find another skeleton. Hello there, sir. After killing the skeleton, we can get an Aycleid chest, and that's pretty much all that is in this room. And then we can progress through the proper way, and we can find this mad lad, Jalbert. And Jalbert here actually has a lot of health, but after a while we were able to kill him, and as you can see, he's a necromancer. But once you kill him, his conjurations, or his summoning, or his necromancians will die. And after that, we can find a lot of loot in the chamber where we found Jalbert. Like, there we have this chest, which just has a whole bunch of gold and other items in it. There's some books, like Manual of Spellcraft, kind of good for beginners maybe, and like Fundamentals of Alchemy. If you need those kind of books, I just picked them up for the sake of collection. We have this key here. Definitely take that key unless you have high lockpick. And then there's some lockpicks and gold on the table. As we exit, this key will open up this gate here, and then we're pretty much free to leave Vilverin. As we leave, this door here will take us pretty much back to the entrance in classic Bethesda fashion. Glad to see that Todd Howard has not changed much over the years. There's also one last chest full with goodies for you to loot before you jump down back at the entrance. And there you have it, Vilverin. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Unexplored Cyrodiil. Now, obviously, I'm not as experienced in Oblivion as Skyrim, so this will be a bit of an interesting video because in my other Unexplored series, I have a lot of familiarity with the game for the most part, Oblivion is my least familiar game in that series, but I'm still very much looking forward to this series. If you guys have any recommendations for locations or video ideas, please post them in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time.